Welcome, everybody. We are drawing sharks again. We are celebrating Shark Week this week, and every day I'm going live online to draw sharks with you. And so each day is a different species. And today we are doing the hammerhead shark, which is one of my favorites because I've actually been lucky to see this shark live in the Galapagos, snorkeling with it. In fact, I think I was wearing the same shirt. So welcome. Thanks for joining me. I am a naturalist, environmental educator, and visual artist in Southern Oregon, and I studied marine biology in college and worked at the Monterey Bay Aquarium and have been lucky to scuba dive and snorkel with sharks around the world. And I love teaching people how to appreciate nature, especially those species that are misunderstood and maligned, like sharks, through the process of drawing them. And so we are going to be drawing the shark today here. Today's special species is the hammerhead shark. And then at the end of our workshop, I'll be telling you a little bit about my course, which has lots of useful handouts and as well as 6 different workshops, I believe, on different species, including this whole series we're doing this week on YouTube in celebration of Shark Week. So anyway, today is one of my favorites. As I said, it's the species I've been lucky to snorkel with, and this is the hammerhead shark. And so we're going to start drawing it. I got to get my glasses on. Oh, they're all dirty. Yeah, if you haven't joined me so far before, please say hello in the chat box, or even if you have, like Jackie. Hello, Jackie. Aloha, Jackie from Aloha, Oregon. Thanks for joining me again. So do say hello in the chat box. Tell me if you've ever seen a shark before in the wild, or maybe at an aquarium, and especially if you've seen the hammerhead shark. So we'll be talking about its biology as we go, but I do want to get started drawing it. Now, even if you don't have materials, stick around because you can learn a lot about the hammerhead shark and about my techniques. And you can always watch the replay once you do gather your supplies. But basically, my supplies are a simple sketching pencil, and I'm just using this mechanical pencil. And then I'll be shading it, showing the 3-dimensional form of this shark with my charcoal pencil. And then I'll be blending it with this blending stomp. And then I'll be adding highlights by doing some erasing with my erasing pencil. And also I have this special erasing pencil that is actually in the shape of a rectangle, which is super cool. And then maybe adding some highlights with my Uniposca pen. So again, each day we're focusing on a different shark species, and their poses that we're doing are getting a little bit challenging every day. So each day I share a different pose. So we started out with a blue shark on the first day, and that was just a simple side pose. And then yesterday we did a pose from below. And this time we're doing looking at the shark from above. And this is exactly the view I had when I watched the Galapagos sharks. Well, in the Galapagos Islands, we snorkeled with them because hammerhead sharks tend to be below on the surface, just above the surface of the sand, because one of their favorite meals are rays and skates. And so those guys hide just under the sand. And of course, sharks have these special sensory systems on their snouts called the ampullae of Lorenzini, and that helps them to sense the electrical impulses given off by living organisms. And so that's what I saw, was this view where we were above. And actually, one of the sharks I saw had some big cut marks on it, unfortunately, either from a fight from another shark or being caught in a fishing line or something like that. And I was thinking to myself, oh, you poor hammerhead shark. So they generally are not aggressive, generally don't pose a danger to humans. So anyway, we have a couple different views here. And of course, the most interesting thing about them is their head. And let me make this larger so you don't have to look at me. And I think I've optimized this view for both watching on your phone as well as the computer, although it does help if you're watching from a larger monitor so that you can more easily follow along. But of course, what's most unique about the hammerhead sharks and what they're named for is this shape of their head. And that is actually called a cephalofoil, it's called. Oh, let me move my mic closer. I'm not sure if you can hear me as well. There, I got the mic closer. Maybe that helps. Tell me if that helps in the chat box. So yeah, this is the cephalofoil, and there are 10 species of hammerhead sharks that live around the world. And one way to tell them apart, apart from the fact that where they live in the world, is this size and shape of the cephalofoil. And here we're looking at the scalloped hammerhead, which is the species I saw in the Galapagos. And they have these kind of scallops or sort of wave-like shapes on the front. All righty. And here's a close-up view here. And yeah, their eyes are way at the edge, so they have really good eyesight. And as they swim and turn their head back and forth, they can look to the left and the right and up and down and below them really easily. All righty. And so let's get started, not talking so much. So as usual, I'm going to draw a line that sort of tells me kind of how big my shark is going to be, and kind of the direction. And this one, again, is swimming towards us, kind of down. So I'm going to make a line like this for the body, and then for the tail, kind of going up like that. So I think that's about where we're going to be. And then the head's going to be kind of like this. Yeah, so tell me if you can see that. Now I am going to be drawing a little bit darker than I want you to, especially in the beginning, so that you can see it. And I think my lighting, oh wait, now let me change the lighting a bit. There's all kinds of settings on this thing that help you to see it. Okay, tell me, Jackie, if you can see this line. Okay, so anyway, I'm just trying to get a line that describes where my drawing is going to be on the paper. Okay, so what you notice about this shark is this big cephalofoil and then the streamlined body. And you notice a pretty tall first dorsal fin and a much shorter second dorsal fin. And then their tail is what we call heterocersal, which means this top lobe is much longer than the bottom one, which is true in most species of sharks, except for that mako shark we drew on day 2. And then they have a pair of pectoral fins, and only one of them is showing, since the other one is hidden by the body. They also have a pair of pelvic fins. Again, one of them is hidden. And if this were a male, it would have claspers on the bottom. And then I can't quite see. It might have those or not. I can't quite see. And then the last anal fin. Okie dokie. So let's get this started now. So let's get just blocked in. Let's block in our cephalofoil. And that's just like a sort of a rectangle that's angled. And if you have the photo, if you're in my course, you get to download these high resolution photos, and it really helps you draw them better. And again, I do have a link to my course in the chat box. It's only available for sale this week. I only sell it once a year during Shark Week, and it's only $25. And of course, get 100% money back guarantee if it's not what you want. Okie dokie. So that's blocking in that. And again, we're just staying nice and loose. Jackie said she can see the picture, so that's good. Uh, and then the body. Now the body is going to be sort of this streamlined shape, just like streamlined. What do you call it? Whoo, hoo, hoo, losing my words here. Submarine. Yeah. So that body is gonna, be streamlined and kind of come down here. And again, I'm not doing any erasing. I'm just continuing to kind of refine where I want this line. But the body is skinny. It's right here at the base of the tail. So make sure to make that skinnier. I tend to make that too fat in my first drawings. And then we want to place the rest of the tail. And again, this top tail piece is going to be much longer. Uh, and then the bottom. And again, if you had your photo, you could kind of go like this and see if you're close there. And most sharks have this little cut out of their tail. I don't know why, but it's like someone took a little scissors and snipped a little cut out of their tail. All righty. So that's starting there. So let me see, just kind of continue. And when you're drawing, you can use these steps that are inside my course. Again, blocking in, looking at proportions, angles, alignments, negative shapes, and flow lines. Now, I can't teach you everything in my course today, but again, you can get that course for just $25. And that course also includes my very detailed handout talking about the parts. But yeah, there's this subterminal notch, they call it, that looks like it was cut out of the fish. Okie dokie. So now that we have, let's see, now that we have ourselves blocked in a bit, uh, yeah, then let's darken up things a bit. So noticing this again, the cephalofoil is going at an angle, and this eye and this fin are going to be closest to us. So we're going to end up putting more detail into those. And this, uh, the shark's right eye part is farthest away from us. So to emphasize that, we want to make that smaller and make this one larger. And it really is at an angle. So I'm going to make that one smaller. And this one a bit bigger. And we'll get the eye in a minute. And again, I'm still pretty loose. And then, so they have these notches, and you can't see it from the front. You can see it a little bit on the side, but you can see it here where we've got a kind of an arch and an arch, and then the center, and then an arch and an arch. So I think there's basically, from photos I've seen, there's two arches. So if I were to clean that up a bit so that you could see that better. So yeah, there's a center area right here, and then an arch and an arch and an arch and an arch. There we go. And then there's the eye, and there's going to be a little ridge above the eye, and then the eye. There we go. Okay. And then the other eye, we don't see it because of the angle. So we're not going to add that. All righty. So now let's add the rest of the body here and firm that up before we add the fins. So you'll notice this cephalofoil actually kind of arches more like this towards the body. And then I'm going to firm this line up a bit and make sure it's nice and skinny here. And then this side of the shark, this cephalofoil arches into the body here. And of course, since we're looking at it from above, we see a kind of a different angle on these two sides, right? So, okie dokie. And then we're gonna thicken this up a bit. And the shark is always thickest right in the center here where its reproductive organs are. And I'm actually gonna make him a little bit fatter because I see this negative shape here. See this negative shape. So fatter. And then much skinnier. Okay. Now I can add the tail, and then we'll add the other fins and erase some of these lines. So let's get that beautiful tail arching away from us. Let me see if I've got that too long. Maybe I've got a little bit too long. And that subterminal notch coming down. So these guys are not as well adapted to swimming super fast like some of the other species we've seen, like the mako shark. They're more about swimming along the bottom, kind of patrolling the bottom and looking for food along the bottoms. Okay, so now let's get the other fins. So we've got this dorsal fin, and notice it's pretty tall and it's arched back. So it's kind of like, so it's arching away from us. And in most sharks, the rear trailing edge is loose. It's not attached. So it's kind of subtle, but again, it's like there's this little notch that's been taken out. So I guess that's close enough. Maybe a little taller. And again, we're going to add a lot of shadowing. So it doesn't really matter if we have lines that are incorrect there. Close enough. And then the second one, second dorsal fin. And then we've got the pair of pectoral fins, and we only see the left one. Now, that's going to be sort of in front of here, in front of that other fin. And you see how pretty close it is to the head. So it's kind of angled like this. And it goes way back there, way back there. And it's actually attached. Since we're looking at this from above, we're seeing that it's kind of attached like that. That's the little shoulder area. And then the fin. And again, if you had the photos, if you're in my course, you could do this where you test. And then kind of goes like that. Okay, and then two more fins. This next one, the pelvic, it's between the two dorsals and kind of like this. And again, both the pelvic and the pectoral are paired, but we're only seeing one of them from this angle. All righty, and then one last one, the anal fin. And it's about there. Okay. And then I'm going to do some erasing, clean this up a bit before we start shadowing it. Tell me in the chat box how you're doing. Let me use this other beefier eraser. We've got lots of erasers that are used for different purposes. So tell me in the chat box if you're following along. Don't have as many viewers as usual. I think this is a work day. Maybe people are working. Who knows? I like to teach these live pretty early in the morning so that my viewers, especially on the East Coast of the US and Europe, can watch. Because in Europe, it gets a little bit late in the evening to watch if I don't do it early in the day. Okay, so there I clean things up, and I'm actually gonna lighten the whole thing a bit because I don't want an outline. So we've talked about this in our previous workshops this week that, a real shark isn't going to have an outline around it. And so that's one way to get it more realistic when we start to shade it, is we want to not have this cartoonish outline. So I'm just lightly racing the whole thing. Now, I am a professional scientific illustrator, and I've illustrated interpretive panels and books and magazine articles and all kinds of stuff, T-shirts. And when I'm drawing something for an official drawing, what I would do is this first sketch just on sketch paper. And then instead of doing all this erasing, I would transfer a very light outline to my final paper, which is often a different kind of paper, especially if it's like going to be a watercolor drawing. Okay, so hopefully you can still see that. And yeah, so now we've got our outline very lightly of our hammerhead shark. And again, here's a cool picture of the shark looking straight at us. That's a very challenging view to draw. We'll draw a more challenging view like that on our last day of a secret species. Okie dokie. So now I'm just going to add some shadowing. So you'll notice when we're adding, we're gonna, notice where the sun is eventually. I always like to have the sun. And you can kind of see maybe a reflection here. This area is a little bit lighter and bluer, and also on the top a bit, and on the front of the fin here, and on the top of the tail. And then it gets darker down here because the shark is quite big and round. Different species of hammerhead sharks get to be around 10 feet long. And then it wraps around to the bottom of the belly. But that's lighter because they don't have as much pigment. And each shark species sort of has a different area between where that dark pigmented skin and the light belly is. And so we're just going to put a light layer of a charcoal everywhere. And again, it doesn't matter what kind of media you have. It's the same concepts of how light and shadow work. Okay, so even if you're working in watercolor or pen or pencil or whatever. So what I do is I get a medium value everywhere. So I have my pencil on the side. And again, it doesn't matter what kind of pencil you have, except, mechanical pencils don't really do that. So at this point, it's good to have, a regular pencil like this, or like this, or like this, where you can hold it on the side and just lightly get a little bit of value everywhere. So in drawing, the word value doesn't mean how much something is worth. It means how light or dark it is. And so you want to get a nice full range of values when you're drawing to really emphasize the three-dimensional form. And we've been talking about that this week. And again, if this is your first day drawing here, joining me, we are celebrating Shark Week and we're drawing live every day. And you can find the replays of the other drawings and species on my YouTube channel, which this is probably where you're watching right now. And they're on a special playlist called Sketching Sharks. So that it's easy to find all of these replays. And be sure, if you're enjoying these, click that share button. And of course, also subscribe. I really appreciate if you can subscribe. But click that share button and share it with people you know who love sharks. And maybe they're parents of shark crazy kids, or maybe they work in marine education or at aquarium or a zoo, or maybe they're a middle school science teacher. But whether you're an adult or a kid, the process of drawing just teaches you to appreciate the unique anatomy of whatever you're drawing. So yeah, I really appreciate if you click that share button. So this is the first step. Tell me in the chat box if you're keeping up. I don't want to go too fast, but I also don't want to spend all day on this. I try not to make these go any longer than an hour. So let me just kind of add some more shadowing. Sorry, I had a weird thing pop up there. Oh, we still need to add the gills, don't we? So it's going to be most deeply shadowed right back here, and right under the cephalofoil, especially right back here where the shark is heaviest. And also, there's this line in the middle of the tail. And then it gets darker under that. And behind that, that dark part is called the keel. And that's usually this ridge. It helps them swim. All righty. So now I will go ahead and blend that a bit. So we have some even values to move from. And these blending stomps come in lots of different sizes. I'm just going to use this medium size. And again, I'm going to pretty much use the side of it. And charcoals get really messy like that. So we don't try to clean up the edges till the end. But this is where we really want to blend, and also kind of blending right up to that outline edge and softening that in case it's still showing. Because a real shark is not going to have a pencil outline. So even if you go a little bit beyond the outline, that's fine. We'll clean that up with an eraser later. And so at this point, what I do is I am just kind of getting a nice, smooth, medium value. And then we can add some darker values. And at the very end, lift out the highlights. Oh yeah, don't let me forget to add the gills. Poor shark has to breathe. So most sharks have 5 gills. And a majority of sharks also, I believe, have this little round gill right behind the eye called the spiracle. Some don't, like great white sharks don't. Now we're going to also be, again, lifting some of this for the white of the belly. Well, we just want to get a nice area of color. So last week I taught a live class locally here in Southern Oregon, It was a summer camp I designed for kids with the theme of Shark Week. And I had kids as young as 8 years old doing this technique, and they did a really great job. So if you have kids or grandkids, or if you have students, or really anybody that loves sharks, make sure to share this series with them and consider purchasing my course. It's only $25 this week. I'm going to raise the price to $49 after this week, but I'm really not going to talk about the course again until next year's Shark Week. So you won't even know that I raised the price, but if people somehow find it, it's going to be $49. Okay. How are we doing? Tell me in the chat box how you're doing. Some of you watching, like Jackie, has been here just about all week. So you're probably getting really good at sharks and at shading. Even if you don't like sharks, I often encourage people to draw things that they don't like, even if they're afraid of them. Like if you're afraid of sharks or spiders, it's good exposure therapy, I think they call it, to look at something and even draw it if you're afraid of it. That will help you to reduce your anxiety. And I remember that first time I went scuba diving with hammerhead sharks, I was a little bit afraid, but I was diving with a very experienced dive master, and even our boat captain was diving with us. I guess he had a second captain watching the boat, watching the ship. But so I felt really safe. And once I saw them, I was just so fascinated with their behavior and their anatomy. I lost all of my fear. So I see Jackie in the chat box says yes. Good. Glad you're keeping up. So yeah, the edges are going to get kind of dirty, but we'll clean those up later. So again, I am just trying to smooth out the edges so we don't see that outline. Because a real shark is not going to have an outline. And then the fun part starts pretty soon. So I've really softened those edges. Softened. I've heard people say soften lately. Like that T is supposed to be silent, but I've heard that a few times lately. And I'm like, that's interesting. Soften. Okay, so now the shark looks pretty flat right now, right? So we need to emphasize where the sun is, and also, where the shadows are, and then the highlights on the bottom of the body. And I generally add the highlights last because pencil and especially charcoal can be pretty messy. So if you're trying to add highlights, they're just going to get smeared if you do them too early. So at this point, I want that tail to be a little bit bigger. So see how easy it is to kind of change the shape of something. I'm losing my voice. Okay, how are we doing? We're going to start making this look really realistic now, okay? So tell me how you're doing in the chat box. We do have some live viewers. Again, we are celebrating Shark Week all this week with drawing a different species of shark every day. And you can find all those replays on my YouTube channel on the playlist called Sketching Sharks. And so we've got our first draft here where we've got just a medium value everywhere. Now we're going to start adding some dark darks. And then at the very last, we add our lights. Sorry, I am Sometimes the dust from the charcoal can make me cough a bit. Okay, so let's get going here. Let's keep going. So I'm going to go back. And again, it doesn't matter what medium you're using. You just want to kind of try to emphasize where the sun is. So like we see some shadows on the edge of this cephalofoil. It's a little hard to because the cephalofoil isn't flat, it kind of arches down. And we see more of a shadow on this side and towards the back too, because again, this is not a flat structure. The cephalofoil kind of angles down. And then the body, okay, is gonna have some highlights up here and then some darker areas here, especially behind the cephalofoil. And oh, don't let me forget to add those gills. And then behind that first fin, there's actually going to be a shadow where the fin attaches here. And the biggest shadow back here where the shark is fattest. And a shark under the keel. And the bottom of the tail and towards the back behind that highlight where the cartilaginous backbone goes up into the tail. And then when the sun is shining on here, the top of the body is going to be lighter than the fins. So we're going to want to add some darkness to the fin and make that darkest at the base of the fin. But there's a little highlight on the front of the fin. And then we want it darker here too, but not too much because this is facing upwards towards the sun. So it might be darkest closest to the body. And then as it gets out away from the cast shadow of the body, it's going to get lighter. All righty. So let's see. Yeah. So then I will, add, so we need to add a little shadow here. Not as much on these smaller fins because they're not, the sun can go around those edges more than they can the bigger ones. Okay, how are we doing on time? Good, we're doing really well on time. So now I'll blend it again. And so when you're blending it, it softens it. And it does lighten it a bit. Again, we're going to add that fun eye and the gills at the end because those are really soft details. And I don't want to just go in there twice. Making that a little bit taller, maybe. There we go. So see, it's kind of easy when you're drawing with these little blending stomps to fix things a bit. And okay, how are we doing here? We got a few more viewers. Now this, I believe, is actually a digital illustration. Sometimes I do have people draw from these rather, and so is this one, rather than a real photograph, because It's not really light enough in the ocean to see highlights and shadows as well. So just in case you were wondering. Okay. And then, okay, so at this point, I want to do just a little looking around. I think he's a little fat right here. See? I think I'm gonna so it's easy sometimes when you're doing this blending to get it too wide in some areas. That's a little bit better. Okie dokie. And so then now we're gonna start adding the darks. Yeah, and I think here we got this too fat. But again, I like to just do this kind of once towards the end. But we are getting towards the end actually. And a lot of people might just stop right here and think, oh, this is as good as it's gonna get. But the fun part really starts now. So this is where we're really gonna add some dark darks directly with our pencil that we aren't really gonna blend again. And then we're going to add the highlights too. Okay, so I just wanna blend a little bit more. Tell me how we're doing in the chat box. You know, I get lonely teaching online because no one ever comments. And, you know, I am a real person. I'm not an AI. So I do appreciate some interaction here. You know, I am doing all of these for free all week. And so I appreciate you participating with me. Like if I invited you to a potluck party, you wouldn't show up without any food and not talk to anybody, right? So that's how it feels sometimes when I host these. If I'm not getting any interactions, I get a little lonely. Okay, let's start adding some finer details. So we want to add this eye, and there's going to be a highlight in that eye. So make sure to leave a highlight. And there's going to be a little shadow around it too. And then there's going to be more of a line right here, differentiating the base of the cephalofoil from the body. Then there's going to be some obvious shadowing here. And oh, we should finally get our gills. So they've got 5 gills like most sharks. And one of the gills is generally kind of on top of where the that pectoral fin is. And then there are parallel lines after that. Okay. Oh, Jackie, thank you so much. You say I have a one-track mind. It's hard to comment and draw and listen. Good. Okay. Well, I will just assume that you guys are busy drawing and that you're enjoying this activity. And so, yeah, I'm just going to push these values a bit more. And let's see, the back of this fin, the fins are angled down a bit, so there'll be a bit more shadow. And some of these details you might not be able to really see in the video. I'll try to get it closer maybe towards the end. Okay, and we are coming up towards the end where we get the really good details. So now we want to start lifting out the highlights and the white belly. So I like to start erasing, and I'll use my eraser here. So we see that there's some highlights. In fact, yeah, I think. And this is to where we just start to clean up our edges. So we've got some highlights on the top here. top of the cephalofoil. And ooh, I also have this other eraser. And then highlight on the top here, especially with the sun shining. You see that top? It's actually more blue. And then more highlights here. And highlights on the top of the keel. That's really important because that's a structure that it's hard to see from this angle, but it really sticks out, maybe like an inch or so, depending on the species. And then there's this highlight in front of where the cartilaginous skeleton of the tail goes into the tail. Okay, and then, oh yeah, we got to lift out the belly. And yeah, these guys do spend a lot of time near the bottom, sometimes in shallow water. So that would be that sandy, shallow water would be reflecting on the shark. Okay, and then also the gills. So you could also add some highlights with a white charcoal pencil. It just depends. Where's my white charcoal pencil? There it is. This is looking, yeah. So you can always add white charcoal pencil too if you want. So it just kind of depends what supplies you have and how bright you want those highlights. I want to differentiate my cephalofoil a bit from the head because it's looking like it's in the same plane, but the cephalofoil is kind of angled up. So it kind of depends on where the sun is, but I might want to, let's see, maybe darken a little bit this base. And again, I don't know if you can see this in the video, but I think the cephalofoil, especially this side, would be brighter than the body because it's angled up more. Does that help? Oh yeah, I see that helps a bit. Sometimes I look at my monitor. Sometimes I look at my sketch on my monitor. Okay. And so this is such a cool eraser here, and you can actually replace this eraser. So these come in different diameters. Here's one that's actually round, a round eraser, and you can replace that eraser. And here, this one, first time I've ever tried using this rectangular one, which I really like for certain details. It's almost like drawing with white. And so I'm just going to add some really subtle details here and there. Oh, he's looking good. Yeah. She, I think is a she because I don't see any claspers actually. And yeah, how are we doing here? Maybe a little bit lighter on the belly. Just depends on if it's near the edge, it's near the bottom where it's sandy and reflecting light, like when I was scuba diving with these guys, we were in shallows right next to the cliffs. Okay, so now I'm just kind of cleaning up these edges. And it is a little challenging with charcoals because if you smear them with your hand, you're just going to smear it. So I try to brush it towards it, or actually sometimes I'll use I'll blow it with my mouth, but you got to be really careful you don't get any spit droplets. Okay, how we doing here? We still have some live viewers. Let's see. Oh, I want to get a little bit of highlight out here because this is close to us and away from the shadow of the body. Let's see. Let's add a few bright highlights now with the Uniposca. And these come in different diameters. And unfortunately, my narrower diameter one died, but I would really love to have that. But because it gets it hard to have a subtle highlight. But I want, oops, see, it's kind of hard to just get a subtle highlight because this is a really pretty wide diameter. That's good. Okay, and then I might actually use a pen. And let's see, where's my pen? I've got pens in different diameters. This one is super big. In fact, that would not work. One moment, please. Let's see, what about this one? Oh, okay. This one's narrower. So I like to kind of emphasize, but really subtly, that this part is closest to us and this part is too, compared to the rest of the shark that could be like 10 feet away. So I might do just a little bit of outlining. But try to blend that outline so again that it doesn't look like an outline. And gotta get that closer. Okay, let's see. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. Maybe just, let's see. So softening. Now, if you go in with these Uniposca pens and it's too obvious, like I did here, I can always blend this back with my blending stomp and just make that a little bit more subtle. Because that was a little too bright. Maybe I can go back in with this one. Yeah, so the white charcoal pencil is nice and subtle. And I still think I want a little bit more. I love that sound. It's like ASMR. And then, yeah, just go a few places here. Want to clean up that subterminal notch. Oops, now I kind of erased it. This is a back and forth iterative process. So if I erase something, I can just add a little bit of it back in really softly. But I want to have that edge super soft. We're drawing the scalloped hammerhead, one of the 10 species of hammerhead sharks in the world. Most of these 10 species are threatened or endangered or even critically endangered, including this scalloped hammerhead. So they're endangered specifically by hunting, hunting for their fin and for their flesh and for sport, and even where they're supposed to be protected. One reason I'm really passionate about shark conservation is once when I was traveling in the tropics, I was at the beach and it was low tide, and I saw hundreds and hundreds of vultures. And I went over there to see what was going on. And there was a whole pile of hammerhead shark heads that fishermen had illegally caught these hammerheads and just cut their heads off to leave them. They were just being eaten by all of these vultures, which, I love vultures. Actually, many of them are endangered too, but it was just kind of a very creepy sort of sight, to see all of these hammerhead shark heads just floating in the tide pools. That's one of the many reasons. And, a lot of fishing on the open oceans isn't regulated or monitored. Okay, see, we are getting almost at our 1 hour mark. What can I do here? I'm just going to smooth some things out some more a bit. Now, again, remember that I like to really emphasize the atmospheric perspective. So, I can soften this edges of this tail because it's going to be away from us in the murky water. So its edges are not going to be as obvious. So I just kind of go over the edges and make them a bit softer, right? And these two, kind of far away from us, because a lot of these species of sharks can get 10 feet long. So this head is coming right towards us compared to this tail. So I'm going to soften that up a bit. And and then the front here, I'm going to accentuate. So again, I might want to just add some pencil. And again, I got to be really careful not to smear this. But I want to just emphasize these edges, make them just nice and sharp. So I'll just kind of sharpen this edge, which again, you might not be able to see. Sharpen it, but also not make it have an outline. So that's kind of challenging to blend that outline so it doesn't make an outline. There we go. I think I might just want to make that whole fin a little lighter than the body because it's facing the sun more, especially the edge of this out here. And just giving some love to this eye. All right. I don't want to go overboard here. I think that's as much as I'm going to do. Yeah, it's just so easy to keep going because I love drawing in charcoal. As you probably know so far, I just love working in graphite. and charcoal because it's so fun to get those values. So fun. Okay, I've got to stop. Okay, I think that's good. All righty. So we have drawn the hammerhead shark today, and I hope you've really enjoyed looking at that one and drawing it with me. Uh, yeah, there it is a lot closer for you to enjoy. So I hope you learned a bit about hammerhead sharks and the scalloped hammerhead, which is critically endangered. And I hope you really enjoyed drawing. And if you've been joining me every day, like Jackie, who's watching live, that your skills are improving. The more you practice drawing, the better. And even if you don't like sharks, the more you practice drawing anything and really noticing those highlights and shadows and textures and patterns and pigments on something, whether it's a shark or a puppy dog or a kitten, you're going to become a much better artist as well as just an observer of nature. And really, that's the main reason I teach drawing is to encourage people through that process of drawing to learn to understand and respect the wildlife that shares our world with us. And remember, if you join my course, Discover and Sketch Sharks, you get to download all the high resolution images in my step-by-step demonstrations. And I also have a much more detailed drawing demonstration of hammerheads in my course, which includes also a colored pencil and I believe a watercolor. But most of the demonstrations are these sorts of toned drawings in pencil. But you also get to download the high resolution handouts, which are really helpful, especially if you're a teacher or kids. You get to download these. I've designed all of these myself. I've designed this. I am not an AI generated. Nothing I create is artificial intelligence. Everything has been created and filmed by me. And so if you want to appreciate my work as a wildlife educator and artist, really appreciate if you purchase my course this week. It's only $25. And the link is in the chat box. And I'll also put the link down below if it's not already there. And I'd love to see your sketches. Contact me on my website at christineelder.com. And my address is hello@christineelder.com. And I'd love to see your drawings. So, yeah. So thanks so much for joining me today. And I hope to see you. We've got 2 more days celebrating Shark Week, and every day is a different species. So I hope you join. And again, click that share button down below. Share it on your Facebook or other social media, or send that link directly to a friend by email and have them join me, because it's more fun to draw together than alone. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.